Yo guys, it's your friend here, bringing you another awesome Naruto what if tale. Which is, without wasting your time, let's start the fanfic. What if Hinata, Sakura and Ino fell for Naruto together? Naruto Uzumaki was happy. Scratch that, he was very happy. Why you ask? It's because he had passed the genin exam and was now officially a goddamn genin of Konoha. The very thought of it made Naruto giddy with excitement, especially considering what he had to go through to become genin. You see, Naruto had initially failed the genin exam. Quite terribly, in fact. While he was able to barely pass the written portion, a 32% which isn't exactly passing, but Iruka decided to pity him, and the shuriken portion, a 3/10 which means he just passed, he had failed the ninjutsu portion. He was able to pull off a henge no jutsu and the kawarimi no jutsu perfectly. As to be expected from someone who made his living by pranking everyone in the village, from civilians to Anbu, he had jotted down the two jutsus perfectly. The problem was the last of the three academy jutsus, namely the Bunshin no jutsu. He didn't know why, but no amount of practice helped him. He tried and tried and tried, but he couldn't seem to get the damn technique down. Additionally, it's not like the teachers helped him. I mean, the only one who would even give a damn about him as well was Iruka. The other teachers ignored him, randomly threw him out of class. Okay, maybe not randomly, he did prank them hard, but hey, it was their fault for ignoring him. While Iruka did help him, he was also very professional and well impartial, well like how teachers should be. But for young Naruto, that was both a blessing and a problem. Iruka was a single person and he needed to pay attention to the entire class, so he could only do so much. Besides, Iruka loved theories and all that complex history and physics crap. And Naruto hated those. He liked fighting, throwing shuriken, learning kick-ass ninjutsu, you know, the badass stuff. Besides, he had the attention span of a baby when he was bored. So, he slacked off a lot at Iruka's class. Again, not his fault that the lessons were boring. I mean, who cares about physics or maths? Like, come on. Closing parenthesis. Naruto tried asking for classmates for help. Nobody did. Well, it's more appropriate to say, everyone in class hated him. Well, maybe not outright hate him, but he was bullied a lot, called names like blonde idiot, loudmouth, knucklehead, failure, etc. etc. Naruto didn't actually mind getting called those nicknames, they were partially true after all, but hey, if that's all it took to have them not ignore him, or even better, befriend him, he'll take the bullying any day. Sadly, for young Naruto, it didn't work. Nobody in the class gave him the time of the day. He didn't have friends. You know, how classes have different social strata. Like the jocks, the popular kids, the nerds, the lame OS. Well, Naruto was himself a social stratum and the lowest of them all. Basically, Naruto was pretty much lonely all his life, no friends, no family, he was an orphan, nobody who cared for him. Well, it wasn't that he was completely alone. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, was like a grandfather to Naruto. He would visit Naruto occasionally, buy him toys or clothes or books, and go and have ramen with him. Suffice to say, Hiruzen loved Naruto like a grandson, and Naruto felt the same. He loved the old man, even if he was perverted and scrawny. God knows how such a scrawny man was Hokage. But that was the problem. He was the Hokage. Therefore, he was a very busy man. The fact that he spent time with Naruto even though he had a super busy schedule made Naruto respect the man even more. He went all out just so Naruto doesn't feel lonely, despite having lots of things to worry about. Naruto appreciated this. In this entire village, where nobody recognized his existence, there was this one old man who loved him like a grandson, a powerful old man who was the village's strongest ninja. Naruto promised himself that he would protect Hiruzen in his older years. And also, take his Hokage hat from him when he kicks the bucket. Yes, you've guessed it. Naruto's dream is to be the Hokage, one day to become the strongest shinobi ever so that the people would love him, respect him and acknowledge his existence. He wanted to prove to the villagers that Naruto Uzumaki isn't the abomination they thought him to be. Well, let's continue with yesterday's story. So, Naruto had failed and was sulking alone, as per the usual. That's when this soon-to-be bastard called Mizuki came to him. Mizuku was one of Naruto's teacher in the academy who didn't give two shits about him, but Naruto was a kind soul, so he accepted everyone. It didn't matter whether he ignored him during the academy. If he wanted to talk to Naruto, Naruto will talk to him with a smile. Well, a heartbroken smile this time. So, soon-to-be bastard Mizuku had approached him with a supposedly secret way to pass the Genin exam. He told Naruto he'd pass him if he just stole a scroll from the Hokage's room and meet him in the forest near the village borders. Naruto, as stupidly lovable he is still stupid. When the fact that he could still become Genin registered in his head, he was ecstatic and did as he was told, not even suspecting the shadiness of the very exam. He did as he was told. He went to the Hokage's monument and took the scroll from the Hokage's monument and went to the forest. As for how he was able to do that, well, let's say, it involved henge no jutsu and a lot of girls. Naruto didn't understand how the Hokage could be such a pervert. Anyway, after reaching the forest, like the curious kitten, Naruto decided to open the scroll and glossed over it when he encountered a jutsu called the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto decided he might as well learn something and tried copying the hand signs. After a few attempts, he managed to learn the jutsu. He was surprised though. It looks like a variant of the Academy's Bunshin no Jutsu, but he seemed to have no problem learning it. How so? Suffice to say, little Naruto neglected to read the description and just copied the hand sign. Oh, Naruto, how your cute antics could end up killing you one day. As he finished learning his new jutsu, he discovered Iruka, a fuming Iruka. After a brief verbal lashing and the appearance of the already a bastard Mizuki, Naruto learned two things. 1. The supplementary Genin test was just fraudery. Mizuku had tricked him into stealing the Scroll of Sealing, the first Hokage's scroll that contained forbidden jutsus, so that he could have it for himself after killing Naruto. Secondly, the reason why everyone ignores him and hates him, well, at least the adults, is because there is a massive, larger than mountain nine-tailed demon fox who happens to be the embodiment of hatred and natural disasters, and a motherfucker who attacked their village 12 years ago. The younger generation was taught that the fourth Hokage had killed the fox, but the reality of the matter wasn't so simple. Apparently, the nine tails couldn't be killed, so the fourth decided to seal him in a newborn baby. Guess who that baby was? It sucked to know everyone hated you because you were a demon container, but it sucked, even more, when the person you idolized the most, in Naruto's case, the fourth Hokage, was the one who had him shoulder such a heavy burden and was indirectly responsible for all the untold sufferings he had to endure all his life. Naruto was miffed, also, scared of himself, but Iruka convinced him that he wasn't a demon and that he was just its container. He was a hero, a savior and a citizen of Konoha. Those words were enough for Naruto as he engaged Mizuku in a duel to the death and beat the crap out of him. Seriously, a not even Genin beating a veteran Chunin. How is that possible? Was Naruto so goddamned badass that even Chunins couldn't match him? Or was Mizuki just a terrible ninja? Naruto begrudgingly admitted to himself it was the latter. But hey, he was still badass, Dadbeo. Apparently, Iruka had been impressed with Naruto's use of shadow clones in his fight against Mizuki, so he decided to let him pass the exam. Yes, Naruto passed the Genin exam. Now, he was officially a Genin. Here we are now, a week later, as Naruto enters the classroom with a smile in his face and his chest puffed out. As he walked down the aisle, a lazy pineapple-headed boy, who looked like he was about to die any moment, noticed the orange jumpsuit wearing, loud-mouthed blonde in the classroom. Hey, Naruto, why are you here? This is for those who passed the entrance exam. Quote, Naruto narrowed his eyes at him. Can't you see, Shikamaru? I have a forehead protector here. That means I passed, Dadbao. Naruto replied, slightly irritated. Are you sure you didn't steal it, dead last? I doubt you'd pass. Right, Akamaru. A young boy in a gray parka, with brown hair, animalistic eyes and teeth and feral markings on his cheeks told down Naruto in a mocking manner. This was Kiba Inuzuka, heir to the Inuzuka clan. His trusted partner, a white-haired puppy by the name of Akamaru, barked in support. Naruto glared at Kiba. Shut up, Kiba, I'm 10 times the better ninja you'll ever be. Naruto yelled at Kiba as the two butted heads. What did you say, dead last? You heard me, dog breath. The two growled rather heatedly. Troublesome, muttered the pineapple-headed boy, now known as Shikamaru Nara. He stared at them for one more second and dozed off to sleep. It's surprising how fast somebody could actually fall asleep. Deciding that a fight wasn't worth it, both Naruto and Kiba just huffed and went their separate ways. Today was a big day. It was their team placements and they'd rather not have their mood ruined. Stupid dog breath. Always underestimating me. You'll see. You'll all see. Naruto thought. Now that he was a ninja, he'll prove to everyone, especially that idiot Kiba, that he'll be the best ninja ever and be a future Hokage. Naruto sat on a bench in the last column. He turned to his side to see a raven-haired good-looking boy, dressed in navy blue and black, resting his head on his hands with a glare on his face. This was Sasuke Uchiha, the only surviving member of the nearly extinct Uchiha clan and the Rookie of the Year. Also, resident heartthrob. Naruto didn't like Sasuke. He always acted like he was better than everyone, never talking to anyone, never accepting people's friendship. But Naruto knew Sasuke had a harsh past that made him shut off to everyone around him. He understood that, but he still didn't like his attitude. The amount of love, praises, and offers of friendship Sasuke received was something Naruto wanted but never had. Yet, Sasuke rejected them willingly, choosing to be alone. Here, he was always alone wanting companionship, yet there was this jerk who just wanted to be alone. To Naruto, Sasuke was someone who denied his ideals and values. He didn't like it. Here, the buzzing classroom came to a halt as a pink-haired girl with very long hair and a beautiful pony-tailed platinum blonde entered the classroom glaring at each other. The pinky was Sakura Haruno, the kunoichi of the year, and the blondie was Ino Yamanaka, the most popular girl in school and the second-ranking kunoichi of their class. Both of them stopped bickering as they turned their head towards a certain bench. Naruto blushed as he thought Sakura was looking at him. You see, Naruto had a massive crush on Sakura. He really liked the pink-haired girl. Therefore, when he felt her eyes on her, he couldn't tone down his blush. Is Sakura-chan looking at me? Naruto had a goofy smile on his face. He decided to wave at her. Sakura-chan, get lost, Naruto. Ino and Sakura yelled as they pushed Naruto right of his seat and onto the floor as they began fawning over Sasuke. Apparently, Ino and Sakura were a part of the Sasuke fan club just like most of the kunoichis in their class. But, Sakura and Ino were elite-tier fangirls. Basically, they were the most annoying ones. Damn it, not a moment of peace. Sasuke thought as his glare hardened. He glared at the blackboard so hard that you'd think that there would be a hole in the blackboard. He ignored Sakura and Ino. The two weren't worth his time. They were annoying. But, the blackboard was more annoying. So, he continued to glare at it. Sasuke was a weirdo, in his own right. Ouch! That hurt. Naruto rubbed his aching bump. Sigh. I guess it was too good to be true. Naruto sighed. Sakura liked Sasuke. Naruto understood that pretty well, but he just hoped he'd at least be friends or respond to him. But, nope, he wasn't getting any of it. Maybe a beatdown. Sakura and Ino did beat him down when he did stupid stuff. But Naruto was a nice guy. He never held them to it. Yes, forgiveness is a virtue. That's what Old Man Third told him. And maybe, if he tries harder next time, they'll become his friends. Just like every other day in his 12-year-old life, Naruto hoped that one day he could make friends. He looked towards the two girls fawning over Sasuke, who was ignoring them. Naruto glared at him. Again, he was denying companionship. Something he was craving for, something he hoped he'd get one day. Naruto didn't like Sasuke. Not at all. When he saw him, he felt like his hopes were useless. But Naruto reeled his anger in. He didn't like Sasuke, but he knew if he got into a scuffle with him now, Sakura and Ino would pulverize him. They weren't super strong at taijutsu, but when Sasuke was involved they were stronger than those grizzlies in Konoha's forests. Naruto shuddered a bit. Besides, what if he ended on the same team with Sakura-chan? A fight now might make her hate being on a team with him. He'll suck it up for now. Naruto's attention shifted as he saw the door to the classroom open as Iruka stepped in along with Suzume, another teacher at their school. "Quiet down," Iruka yelled as the clattering stopped. He coughed a little and began. "As you know, from today you are genin of Konoha and have the responsibility." Quote, "Blah blah blah. Iruka-sensei really loves to lecture us. Sheesh. Come on, give the teams already." Naruto was dying to know who he's going to have as teammates. He hoped it was Sakura-chan, and he definitely hoped it wasn't Kiba or Sasuke. After Iruka finished his lecture on the responsibilities of genin and shinobi, Suzume stepped forth and began speaking. "As you all know, we usually have 3-man genin cells under a jonin commander. However, while the goal is to build teamwork, we've seen that these genin cells failed to work as a collaborative unit with other larger number of shinobi, which results in failures in completing the mission. That's why the council and Lord Hokage has decided that this time around we will have 5-man cells under 2 jonin instructors." Quote, "The sudden announcement of a newly formed 5-man cells was a shock to the entire class. The class began buzzing amongst themselves about the newly formed system." "Quiet," Suzume yelled to make the class stop. "Now, we've decided to make 4 teams out of the 21 graduating genins. The teams will be Team 7, Team 8, Team 9 and Team 10. The process, unlike previous years where the best-worst were paired up, will be absolutely randomized. This is for you to get the feel of working with anyone and everyone, because your partners will not always be compatible with you, yet you have to get the mission done. Now with that said, we are going to draw your names from this box." Quote, Suzume finished. Iruka took that as a cue and put his hands in his box and picked up 5 names. "Okay, so the first team. Team 7 Kiba Inuzuka, Shina Aburame, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi, Sasuke Uchiha." Quote, multiple groans could be heard all over the class. Most of them were the kunoichis, who were hoping to pair up with their beloved Sasuke-kun. "Damn it, no, me and Sasuke are supposed to be together." Sakura cried out in rage in her mind. "Shanaru, how can they separate me and Sasuke-kun? No." Inner Sakura soon followed. "No, no, no, no. Damn it, I was supposed to be with Sasuke-kun." Ino started banging her head on the desks. "No Sasuke-kun." Amy was howling in pain at the thought of being separated from the raven-haired Uchiha. The boys of Team 7, other than Sasuke, could feel the glare directed towards them from the fangirls. "Troublesome," a drowsy Shikamaru thought as he went to sleep just as quickly as he woke up. "Girls are scary," a chubby boy, with reddish-brown hair and spiral markings on his cheeks, Choji thought. It seemed the pace at which he was eating his chips got faster. "But at least, I am with Shikamaru. That's a plus." Choji had mixed feelings about the team. "Damn it, I'm with lazy-ass, fat-ass, mute and worst of all friggin' pompous, arrogant Sasuke. Damn it, even Naruto might have been better." Kiba thought angrily. He didn't like this team. Not at all. This team had no drive, no blood-pumping passion. He didn't like Naruto, but at least he wasn't as stale and boring as these lads. Akamaru probably thought the same as he barked in a disappointed manner. A stoic Shino Aburame stood in the corner of the class just observing the proceedings. "It doesn't matter who my teammates are. As long as they don't get in my way. Sasuke continued to glare at the blackboard. It didn't matter to him who he got in his team, he wanted them to be as uninvolved with him as possible and if possible, never to get in his way. For he had much greater ambitions and far too little time. It seemed the only person who was truly happy with the teams was Naruto. Not only did he not get teamed up with Duck Butt Sasuke and Dog Breath Kiba, but he also had a chance to get paired up with Sakura-chan. Your Jonin instructors will be Kakashi Hatake and Asuma Sarutobi. Quote, Iruka finished. Suzume put her hands in the box and began announcing the rest of the names of the team. Team 8 will be Sakura Haruno, Hinata Hyuga, Amy Kurama, Ino Yamanaka and lastly Naruto Uzumaki. Your Jonin sensei will be Kurenai Yuihi and Anko Mitarashi. Quote, Yada, I'm in a team with Sakura-chan. Quote, an exuberant Naruto shouted in joy. He was so happy. He was in a team with Sakura-chan, his crush, his beautiful, gorgeous Sakura-chan. Ya. 3 consecutive loud hits to the desk followed Naruto's shouts of joy. No way, I can't get teamed up with Naruto Baka, Amy Whore, and Ino Pig. Quote, an enraged Sakura yelled, Yay, I agree with Forehead for once. No way am I getting teamed with Naruto Baka, Amy Whore and Forehead. Quote, Ino yelled equally enraged. Ha, who wants to be teamed up with Billboard Brows, Piggy and stupid Naruto? And I am not a whore. Amy shouted. Yes, you are. Ino and Sakura shouted at her with equal intensity. The 3 kunoichi glared daggers at each other, ready to maul each other. At the end of the room, in one corner, a shy Hinata Hyuga, a raven-haired girl with lavender eyes wearing an overcoat bigger than her body twiddled her fingers and blushed. I'm going to get teamed up with Naruto-kun. It seems in the battle of getting teamed up with their crushes Naruto and Hinata had won. Just that it wasn't mutual. Sigh. The complexities of life. Naruto, however, had now become silent. It really saddened him that nobody wanted to team up with him. I mean, sure he was the dead last and he might have pulled a prank or two but he knew he could be an awesome ninja, way more awesome f. I can't fail. I can't fail. I can't fail. That's what went through Naruto Uzumaki's head as he headed towards Training Ground 8. Today was the day of their genin test and if they fail, they get sent back to the academy. Damn it, I'm going to be Hokage someday. I have to pass this test. Or else, I won't even get to be a shinobi. Naruto slowly walked as he entered Training Ground 8. Upon entering, he had already noticed his teammates. Hinata was the first one to arrive, followed by Amy and then Sakura and Ino. Naruto observed them for some time. It seemed they were just as nervous as he was. Normally, there wouldn't be a moment when Sakura, Ino and Amy weren't hurling insults at each other or fighting over who better suited Sasuke, yet they were eerily quiet. They looked troubled too. Hinata was usually nervous but today it seemed she was even more nervous than usually. The girl was breathing hard and sweating and they hadn't even begun the test. This is bad. If they are so nervous, they might mess up. While it's true Naruto might not have been a specialist when it came to tests considering his horrendous academic records, but even he knew that being nervous could cost them the opportunity at being genin. Gotta liven up the mood. Slapping himself on the cheeks in hopes of removing his own nerves, Naruto ran towards the 5 eagerly waving his hands and with a smile on his face. Hey guys. Naruto greeted them overly enthusiastically. The girls stared at him for a moment but they went about brooding. Except Hinata, who was a blushing mess. Hi-en Naruto-kun, she meekly replied. Naruto grinned broadly. Hey Hinata, what's up? En Naruto-kun is talking to me. Hinata couldn't believe her luck today. Naruto was talking to her. To her. This was one of the best days of her lives already. She wouldn't mind failing the genin test. At least, Naruto noticed her today. Suddenly, Hinata had a flashback of last night. Don't tarnish the family name. Hinata shivered. She remembered her father's eyes as he said those words to her. Cold. His eyes were cold. He did not expect anything from Hinata but she knew. She knew very well if she failed, the repercussions would be severe. I'm fine, Hinata replied, almost inaudibly. You don't sound like it. Naruto thought. Naruto noticed Hinata's discomfort. It seemed she was still very nervous about the test. This was bad. It wasn't just Hinata, everyone was too nervous. If this goes on, they'll collapse even before the test. Please class clown skills. Don't betray me now. Hey guys. No need to be so nervous. We'll pass the test like a breeze. I mean, come on, we are the best genin team after all. Bam. As soon as Naruto finished, he had been hit on the head by 3 fists from Amy, Sakura and Ino. Would you shut up for a second, Naruto? Ino yelled. Can't you see we are nervous already? Let us focus for Pete's sake. Sakura followed. God, you're so annoying. Right, Hinata, he was annoying you, right? Amy turned to Hinata. Hinata looked torn on what to do. She wanted to defend her crush, but she was very susceptible to peer pressure. Basically, Hinata was a pushover. She remained silent. Naruto took Hinata's silence as a yes. Naruto pouted. I just wanted to cheer you guys up, he muttered in a way that the others couldn't hear him. You had the worst grade among us 4. Shouldn't you be the most worried? Sakura told down Naruto. Naruto just looked down to his feet. Man, Sakura sure was mean. I doubt he would pass anyway. The academy exam was just a fluke. Ino and Amy thought simultaneously. And Naruto-kun. Oh ho. Fighting before even the test started. Are ya sure ya kids gonna be alright? The sudden appearance of the new voice took the group's attention as Anko and Kurenai appeared in front of them in a trail of leaves. So cool. Naruto really wanted to learn that jutsu. That way he can pull the awesomenest of pranks, Dadbeo. Ah, good morning, sensei. Sakura, Amy, Ino and Hinata greeted the pair. Kurenai nodded, acknowledging the greeting. So, brats ya ready for the test? Anko smirked, almost devilishly. Gulp. Anko, don't scare them. Kurenai chastised Anko. Anko grinned sheepishly. Sorry, Nai-chan. She apologized. Kurenai's face flashed an embarrassed red as she growled at Anko. Don't call me that. Anko just grinned at her mischievously. But you like it, don't you? Hee. Kurenai huffed and coughed. Anyway, she started. Anko-sensei can really get under a person's skin. The genins thought simultaneously. The test for today would be more of a mission. You have to infiltrate a building and steal a set of scrolls from there. Me and Anko would be on guard to prevent you from getting the scroll. Quote, the set has 4 scrolls, with the names of the 4 Hokages. Your task is to retrieve the 4 scrolls from us. Anyone who forgets to retrieve the scroll fails. Anko smirked at the genins. Also, she continued, all types of ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, shurikenjutsu are allowed. Come at us with the intent to kill. Or else I'll mutilate you, kukuku. Quote, oh my god, she's going to kill us. That smirk. She definitely wants to kill us. The genins shuddered. Anko was an oddball, a very scary, sadistic oddball, and the genins understood that very well. Kurenai glared at Anko. She really liked teasing people too much. You have until 12 to retrieve the scrolls. Quote, also, the one who fails doesn't just get sent back to the academy but also has to watch me and the other 4 eat dango. Anko cheerily announced. 5 sets of stomachs growled synonymously. So that's why she didn't have us eat breakfast. Anko was a sadist. A merciless, cruel sadist. When do we start, sensei? Sakura began to ask. Now. Quote, the pair disappeared in a trail of leaves. So cool. This scene never gets old. Naruto turned to his teammates. So, what do we do? They never told us where they are going to be. Do we search all around Konoha? He asked them. Amy asked incredulously, as if he were mad. Naruto seemed confused. Yay. He tilted his head to the right. Sakura coughed. Ino chuckled slightly. Didn't you hear what sensei said, Naruto? Sakura glared at him. Naruto was very confused. He didn't get what they were insinuating. Sensing that Naruto was confused, Ino heaved out an exasperated sigh. Look Naruto, no offense, she started. But sensei said, 4 people would pass. 4 people who retrieved 4 scrolls. Going by skills, I'm pretty sure if anyone doesn't pass it's going to be you Naruto. Ino finished. Yay, look, as much as I hate agreeing with Billboard Brow and Piggy, if there's anyone who's going to fail it's going to be you. So, why not just stay out of our way from now on, Amy said in a condescending manner. Naruto was crestfallen. The test hadn't even started yet and they were already saying he's going to be the one to fail. Let's go you 3. We might as well get the scrolls and pass the test. Quote, Sakura declared. Amy and Ino nodded, but still glared at Sakura. You don't get to be the leader, forehead. Ino sneered. Yay, if anyone's the leader, it should be me. Amy scowled. Sakura turned around to glare at them. Stop wasting time and let's get going. We can decide the leader later. Sakura told them. Amy and Ino glanced at each other and decided that it would be better to just begin now. The trio of fangirls started leaving the training ground. Hinata looked between the trio and Naruto. She couldn't decide what to do. She wanted to defend her crush but Hinata was too meek and too susceptible to pressure to do something solely on her free will. It just wasn't in Hinata's nature. It's sad that such a kind girl is such a pushover. Hinata, come on. Hinata could hear Ino shouting. With a heavy heart, she left the training ground and followed the trio. Sorry and Naruto-kun. She felt disgusted at herself but she couldn't do it. She just didn't have the courage. I'm pathetic. Naruto stood in the training ground alone. Alone. Just like always. But this time, Naruto wasn't depressed like usual. No. This time he was angry. Really angry. He could talk the mean insults. He could take the beatings. He could take the mockery. But he hated it when somebody underestimated him. Like his existence didn't matter. Like he wasn't worth it. They are just like the others. Those eyes, they think that I can't do it. Naruto scowled. They'll see. They'll all see. I'll pass this test alone if I have to, Dadbeo. Naruto jumped from roof to roof, as the scenes from the training ground played in his head. He had been genuinely hurt this time. He didn't get them. Did they have to be so mean with him? He just wanted to help. Sure, like them, he didn't want to get sent to the academy. After all, a future Hokage can't fail the exams, right? But even so, he wanted to help them. Or else, he'd feel bad. Well, they definitely didn't want my help. Naruto pouted to himself. He knew he was the weakest of the 5. He had slacked off in the academy and considering how he got his education sabotaged by those teachers who ignored him, it was natural he was far behind. But it didn't mean his resolve to be a ninja was any less than then. In fact, he was sure he wanted to be a ninja more than anyone. That was the only way he can prove himself to everyone. That he wasn't a monster. That he wasn't the skyscraper-sized fox that attacked their village. He was just its jailer. He wanted to prove to them that he wasn't a nobody. I'll become Hokage if it's the last wait, I'm getting distracted. Becoming Hokage was all in nice, but he needed to pass this test. He couldn't afford to get distracted. Naruto sat on the rooftop of a building trying to calm his nerves and remove the unnecessary thoughts. Even Naruto understood, there are times you need to keep your emotions in check. He calmly sat down trying to figure out what to do. Anko and Kurenai didn't tell them where they would be, meaning, they had to find them. He didn't have the Byakugan like Hinata or the Hyuga. He could ask the villagers, but he doubted they'd know, and even if they do, it's not like he could search every single building. Wait, maybe I can. Ah, that's right, Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Quote, Naruto made 100 clones of him. Impressed with his handiwork, Naruto nodded with pride. Okay, you guys, go search for Anko-sensei and Kurenai-sensei and report back to me. Yes, boss. The clones saluted. Naruto diverged to different points in the village. Naruto grinned to himself. I'll find them easy this way, hee hee. Naruto decided to stay on the roof and wait. He'll start moving when he learned of their location. This will be easy, Dadbao. Shut up, forehead, why should we listen to you? Ino yelled at Sakura. Sakura looked at her incredulously as if she were mad. Well, obviously, since I am the kunoichi of the year. Well, nobody gives a shit about that, Amy told her. Ino nodded. Sakura was acting bossy since the get-go, it was getting them pissed. Only they could act bossy. It had been only 10 minutes since they departed from Training Ground 8. They had decided that Hinata would be the one to walk in front since she had the Byakugan. The incredible range of the Byakugan and its 360-degree vision. Granted, it couldn't see through solid objects, but mirror reflections were an exception. And so, for 2 hours they had walked with Hinata in front, searching for their two senseis. They had ended up arriving at a three-way alley. And that's when teamwork went to shit. I say we take the right, Ino suggested. We should take the left, Amy countered. We should go through the center, Sakura opined. And why should we do that, forehead? Ino seethed. Sakura just huffed. Since you are too much of an idiot, let me explain. The middle alley looks like there hasn't been too many people. I'm pretty sure they would take a route where people wouldn't see them. Quote, that's why I'm saying we take the right one. The right route is too crowded, they can easily blend in a cloud and disappear. Ino yelled. Amy glared at the two. You two are idiots. We take the left one. Look at it, it's shady AF. They probably would want a place where there won't be too many people since the test would cause a commotion, Amy told them. No, we take the center. Sakura yelled. The right, quote, the left, quote, center, quote, right, quote, left, quote. Hinata looked torn on what to do. To her, all three of them had some truth to what they were saying. But none of them were correct. She knew. Why, you ask? Because there was a grinning Anko holding a kunai to her throat, grinning madly. Anyo. She tried to grab their attention. The girls ignored her as they were busy arguing. Anyo. She tried once more. Ingord. Anko looked at the trio of arguing kunoichis with a deadpan expression. Here, she was holding their teammate as hostage with a kunai to her throat, and there they were arguing like kindergarteners. Man, this is pathetic. This kid's really sucked. She could feel it during the orientations. But they didn't know it was that bad. She turned to the Hyuga who was trying to get their attention. This girl is too shy for a kunoichi. Sigh, it's good to have a pure heart, but Hinata wasn't fit for the life of a ninja. Sad, considering she probably had the most potential in the team. Now how to get their attention? A devious idea popped in Anko's head. She turned to Hinata and who in turn, turned towards her. Hinata noticed Anko's expression. Gulp. She was in for trouble. Munyu. Eep. Hinata let out a loud shriek. The sudden shriek from Hinata broke the kunoichi from out of their argument. They turned towards Hinata only to find Anko with a kunai pointed towards a dizzy-eyed, blushing Hinata. Oh ho, you are quite big for a 12-year-old. Is this why you wear this overcoat? Anko was apparently grabbing Hinata's and giving it some squishes. The other three kunoichi flushed bright red at their instructor's antics. Sensei, that's sexual harassment. Sakura protested. Ino and Amy nodded. Anko just hummed while giving another squish which generated another EEP from Hinata. I didn't have any choice, ya know. This girl tried calling you guys out so many times. You just didn't respond. So, I thought I'd give her a little help. Quote, she gave them her most innocent smile. That's not how you help people. The trio simultaneously thought. You know, Anko started. Heavy. The kunoichis felt a sudden pressure from Anko. The trio felt to their needs and Hinata who was in Anko's arms was struggling to stay conscious. What's this oppressive feeling? Sakura yelled out in their mind. What? Amy was just as shocked as Sakura. It seems except Sakura the other three had realized what Anko was doing. Killing intent. Unlike Sakura, Amy, Ino and Hinata were both from well-reputed clans. They had experienced or at least witnessed the use of Ki during training. But Anko's was oppressive as hell. Like, she really wanted to kill them. What the hell, sensei? Ino yelled out. I thought we were supposed to find you and retrieve the scrolls. You never said you wouldn't say you would attack us. Ino complained. Yay, true, but I never said we won't attack you. Quote, Anko smirked. Besides, we told you this would be a mission, and in a mission, anything could happen. Quote, Anko then glared at the three. You three are pathetic. Here, you three were arguing while your teammate was held hostage. I never knew kunoichis could be this pathetic. Quote, it seemed the words of Anko hit them hard. The three genin looked down in shame. And you Hinata, she turned towards Hinata. While it's not bad to have a nice heart and while I appreciate that you are the most hardworking genin in the team, if you don't change your attitude then I'm sorry to say but the shinobi way of life isn't for you. Ank told her, her eyes staring right at Hinata's. The other three were shocked at how mean their sensei was being to Hinata. Hey, why you don't have to say it like that, Ino tried to tell Anko. Hinata's just a nice girl, just very shy. Anko sighed. At this rate you'll never be able to find us much less take the scrolls. Quote, Anko noticed the crowd was gathering. The crowd looked at them and murmured to themselves. While a genin test was important, she'd rather not get the public riled up. I'll tell you the location. You can find us in the house on top of the dango store near the marketplace. Hurry up though, there's only 2 hours left. Quote, the three genin gulped at their sensei's declaration. While they were happy that Anko told them the location of the scrolls, the look in her eyes told her if they failed, they will get no second chance. Also, Anko smirked. I'm taking Hinata. Quote, Anko disappeared in a shunshin. The three stared as Anko disappeared. Guys, Amy started. The purple-haired girl gulped. Let's work together for now, okay? Man, it really hurt her pride saying that. I mean, the fact that she has to ask for Piggy and Billboard Brow's help is insulting but she couldn't give up right now. Ino and Sakura nodded dumbly. They were stubborn but they weren't so stupid as to realize that this was not a time to be arguing. Sucking up their pride, the trio walked together towards the designated place in hopes of getting their scroll and well rescuing Hinata. It is kinda out fault Hinata got captured. It smells so good. At this moment, in front of the small dango shop near the marketplace, a Naruto clone had been eating dango. It seemed that even Gama-chan got copied when Naruto multiplied so the clone thought he might as well buy some dango to feed himself. Yum yum. Well, he knew time was running out and he had to find his toe instructors but you can't run on an empty stomach. Might as well have some food. Good thing Gama-chan can copy. But does the money from Gama-chan go poof if he goes poof? Clone shrugged. He'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. As Naruto clone ate the dango, a purple blur sped past him right through the dango store. Clone tilted his head. That was weird. Who was that? Meh, he'd think about it later. But first, he needed to eat this dango. Not as good as ramen though, but I can understand why Anko-sensei likes these. They aren't half bad. Clone continued to munch on his dango. Clang. The plate of dango fell from his hand. Anko-sensei. He widened his eyes at realization. Dango place. It's a dango place. Anko-sensei loves dango. It isn't unlikely for Kurenai-sensei and Anko-sensei to be with her. And the purple blur must be a shunshin and the only person that has purple hair. I'm a genius. Clone praised himself for his wonderful deductive prowess. Who said he was stupid? He is amazing. He is going to be a future Hokage, Dadbeo. Now I just need to make sure that this is the place and then report to boss. Clone stealthily creeped into the interiors of the dango store. Nobody noticed him. That was a given. He was a notorious prankster who had outrun Jonin and Anbu class people. Normal civilians can never notice him. Clone creeped inside the store and was greeted with the sight of a. The statement went through Ino, Sakura and Ami's mind as they stared at Naruto in shock. The guy who they mocked, belittled, whose help they denied, leaving him to pass this difficult test all alone, was willing to fail just to get themselves and Hinata pass. Despite all their cruel treatment, he was willing to let them pass even if it meant he'd be the one to fail. They doubted they'd ever do the same for him yet. Oh, he's more interesting than I thought. While Anko and Kurenai feigned shocked outwards, both of them smirked inwardly. But why would you do that, Naruto? Kurenai asked him, feigning shock. You did all the hard work to get these scrolls, you know. Besides, these four didn't help you even in the slightest. Quote, Kurenai glared at the four. The four tied up genin just looked down in shame. That's right, brat, you did everything on your own. They did squat shit. Why would you sacrifice your chance at being a genin for them? Anko asked Naruto. Naruto looked down for a bit. Why did he do it? Why was he willing to sacrifice this golden opportunity to be a genin for them? They didn't even help him. He was brushed off when he tried to assist them and work together. Heck, they mocked him. Well, maybe not Hinata, but Ino, Amy, and Sakura were one of his biggest critics back in his academy days, and even within the one day they became genin they only chastised him. If he gives up this opportunity now, he'll have to go back to the academy. He had already failed the academy exams twice. He barely passed this time due to Mizuki's treachery, a bittersweet incident. There was no telling he'd be able to pass a fourth time. Then why would he go so far for them? He knew the answer. Crystal clear. You see, I want to become the greatest Hokage ever, Naruto started. He turned to them and gave them his trademark Uzumaki grin. I want to surpass the old man, the fourth, the second, the first. I want to surpass all of them and become the greatest Hokage there is. That way, everyone will have to acknowledge my existence, my skills, my worth. Quote, Naruto took a deep breath. A Hokage protects his precious people in the village. He protects civilians, shinobi genin, chunin, jonin alike. He's willing to sacrifice everything for his beloved ones. I think if I sacrifice any one of them, then, even if I become the greatest Hokage, I won't be able to look myself in the eye, I won't be able to look the other four in the eyes. There's no point in becoming a Hokage if I have to sacrifice others to do. Quote, even if Amy, Sakura, Ino, Hinata didn't cooperate with me, and even if they don't like me and don't want to team up with me, I still won't sacrifice them to become a Hokage. Quote, Naruto smiled at the four, a heartfelt genuine smile. I'll become Hokage even if I am going to fail today. Believe it, Dadbeo. Quote, Kurenai and Anko's eyes widened at this declaration. This kid, Anko was impressed. No, that was an understatement. She was enthralled. What a sense of self-sacrifice. And, what a pure heart. Naruto Uzumaki is probably the most self-sacrificing person ever. Anko knew of the boy's burden. She knew how he spent most of his life alone, subjected to people's hatred, ignored, hated for things he had no control over. For someone who spent his life in such solitude and desolation, she wouldn't have been surprised if he had picked one of the four to fail. Anko could relate to the child. She was hated for things she had no control over either. She was constantly under suspicion and the scrutinizing gaze of man, civilian and shinobi. After all, her sensei was Orochimaru, one of the legendary three, the Sannin, and one of the biggest traitors in Konoha's history, on par with Madara Uchiha and Itachi Uchiha. An S-rank missing ninja who fled the village after his inhumane secret researches and criminal ploy was exposed. Her sensei's betrayal had affected her greatly. The person she looked up to the most and loved like a father had betrayed her. Orochimaru's betrayal had caused Anko to be viewed with suspicion. Understandably so, since before his defection, she was the one who spent the most time with him. Besides, she was his disciple. Like master, like disciple, right? Thus, the civilian community shunned her. The shinobis avoided her. Isolation became commonplace. Whenever she would walk down the market roads, she'd hear whispers of traitor's pet, snake scum. She, at one time, wanted to defect too and kill all the sorry sobs that ever graced Konoha. However, she did come out of that phase with the help of her friends Kurenai, Kakashi, Guy, Asuma, Azumo, Kotetsu, Genma, Rado, Aoba. Sure, she was the youngest of them, being only 24. But they had helped heal her heart, broke the walls blocking her feelings. She was grateful to them for that. That's why she felt she could relate to the boy on a personal level. They were similar, but unlike her, he had no friends to rely on. So, she had figured he'd just have himself pass and randomly fail one of the other 4. Not that he'd pass if he did that. The test was of course a test of teamwork. Quote, the secret's out, meh. And she had only expected him to pass if he had figured out the answer to the test. But she was caught off guard when he saw the look in his eyes when he said that. His feelings, they were genuine. He didn't pass because he figured out the answer to the test. No, Naruto was willing to take the bullet for others. He was just that type of person. Kurenai was thinking along the same lines as Anko. Initially, when he had said that they should give them the scroll and pass them, she figured the answer to the test. But, just like Anko, Kurenai didn't understand that he had such a strong, pure conviction. He was willing to take the bullet for his fellow Konoha citizens, civilians or shinobi, even if it meant he might never become Hokage. The will of fire, the desire to protect the village and everyone in it, as if they were family. Kurenai understood. Naruto did not have a family. He grew up isolated, abhorred, ignored. He had nobody to call him precious. That's why the ingenious prankster did what nobody would ever do. He made everyone in the village his precious people. His family. A family that might hate him, loathe him, but the family he will protect with all his might. What a boy. Kurenai and Anko nodded, and smiled to themselves. Very well, Naruto. We will honor your wish since you were the one who got the scrolls. We'll pass them, but you will fail though. Got it? Quote. Naruto nodded weakly. He was sad he would fail, but better than being a conniving son of a gun and taking the spoils for himself. Kurenai turned to the 4 genins who were tied up. Are you okay with this, you 4? Quote. The genins looked at each other and nodded to each other. They turned to Kurenai. Ino decided to speak. Sensei, we, quote. Sakura's eyes widened when she heard Naruto's answer. The fact that he was selfless enough to sacrifice his genin promotion for theirs surprised her enough. His conviction, however, surprised her even more. She knew how unkind she was to Naruto. Back in the academy, she was one of those kids who'd make fun of Naruto, embarrass him, humiliate him just so she could look in front of Sasuke. She hit him when he tried to talk to him, called him names, repeatedly dissed his skills as a shinobi, and did a lot of mean things. Whenever he'd ask her out on dates, she'd hit her and say how he was making it seem like he and Sakura were dating and how Sasuke would never notice her. She had even once said that he was ruining her life. Frankly, it wouldn't have surprised her if Naruto decided that she should be the one to fail. Hell, even Kurenai asked Naruto what he was going to do. She was sure he was going to have her fail. I mean, wouldn't that be the most natural thing to do? He proved how unnatural he was then and there. He chose to fail himself and have his childhood bully advance. She knew Naruto wanted to be Hokage, everyone knew that. It was one point he made loud and clear. Ever since she knew Naruto, he would always go about how he'd become Hokage. Now, he was risking his dreams for them. No, he was willing to abandon his dreams just for them. There's no point in becoming a Hokage if I have to sacrifice others to do. Naruto would never sacrifice anyone. Because he wanted to be a Hokage, and a true Hokage would protect everyone since they were family to him. No, that's not it. Sakura thought about everything until now. Naruto, he was a target of many. She noticed how all the children would either mock him, belittle him, spat at him or ignore him. She had noticed the adults glaring at him and ignoring him. Even the senseis at the academy looked at Naruto with contempt. But, when she thought about it, Naruto never held it against anyone. He never went about willingly hurting anyone. It's as if he took everyone's contempt with a grain of salt. In the academy, Sakura would remember herself berating the blonde. He'd go away sulking only to return as happy as ever. She, sometimes, wondered if he were bipolar. Naruto, in reality, was a nice guy. They never tried to see the fact. At that moment, Sakura's image of Naruto in her head completely changed. From an annoying, worthless, dumbass Sakura at that moment realized Naruto was just a kind-hearted, pure teenager with a heart of gold. He was still annoying and brash, but he was a genuinely nice person. Sakura gulped and nodded to herself. She knew what she was going to do. Amy wanted to hug Naruto for once because he didn't want to fail them but also wanted to spat at him for pitying them. Amy was born to the Kurama's main branch family. Kurama family, a family known for their prowess in Genjutsu, Konoha's Genjutsu specialists. Amy was one of the daughters of the family head Murakumo Kurama and the younger sister of Yakumo Kurama by 1 year. Ever since she was born, she spent her life under the shadows of her older sister. Her old sister, Yakumo, while born with a weak constitution, was outstanding when it came to Genjutsu. Her mastery over Genjutsu was so great that she was considered a once-in-a-millennium prodigy. That's why, as far as she could remember, she spent her days in her shadows and being played off as the lesser favorite of the two by her parents and fellow clansmen. Unfortunately, due to a series of incidents, her sister became unable to become a ninja and thus she was the one her family relied upon. Or, so she thought. It was pity, in all honesty. The moment that Yakumo got back her abilities she was going to become a second thought. Even if she didn't, her parents didn't expect much of Amy. She was pitied and she felt she could do nothing about it. That's why she became enthralled with Sasuke Uchiha. He, too, felt he was pitied after he lost his clan to his older brother. Yet, he didn't succumb to it. He showed a middle finger to those who felt he was a lesser Uchiha and a poor miserable child and indulged in his own ambition. Not to mention, he was cool, hot, mysterious, he was very attractive. Amy, however, disliked Naruto. The idiot was loudmouthed, stupid, weakling and a happy-go-lucky bastard. Or at least, that's what she thought. She never expected that Naruto would willingly sacrifice his chance at being genin for them. Nope, she wouldn't buy it, especially if it was sacrificing for her. The purple-haired girl had bullied him a lot to get Sasuke's. She was the one who started the bullying trend in their class the first place. Nobody needed to know that though. She humiliated him a lot and even teamed up with the other fangirls to bully him. Nope, he had some ulterior motives. A Hokage protects his precious people in the village. He protects civilians, shinobi genin, chunin, jonin alike. He's willing to sacrifice everything for his beloved ones. I think if I sacrifice any one of them then, even if I become the greatest Hokage, I won't be able to look myself in the eye, I won't be able to look the other four in the eyes. What the heck? Amy realized at that very moment Naruto Uzumaki was just a nice person. Amy knew people disliked Naruto Uzumaki. The younger generation thought he was annoying and the older generation, she did not know what they thought but she knew they disliked the blonde even more. Yet, here he was telling that all of them were his precious people. Even if they hated him, he still considered them as their special people. Because all of them are Konoha citizens. Naruto Uzumaki was a kind person. A happy-go-lucky kind person. A wave of shame and self-loathing hit Amy. All of the things she'd done to the blonde and now he's sacrificing himself willingly. She felt like crap. She knew what she was going to do. She didn't like it but that was what she would do. Hinata wanted to say no. A big no right to everyone's face when Naruto decided that he'd be the one to stay back. She knew how hard Naruto worked. She knew how Naruto trained from dawn till midnight to hone his skills. She knew how he shrugged off all the hurtful comments, glares, beatings with a smile. She knew how much he wanted to be a ninja and be recognized. She knew how much he wanted to be the Hokage. No, This can't happen. But why? Why couldn't she voice out her complaints? Just why? Hinata hated it. She hated the fact she was so weak. She hated the fact she couldn't speak her mind. You are destined for failure. She remembered her cousin Neji's words. You are a worthless daughter. She remembered her father's cold glare. Ne-sama, how disappointing. She remembered her little sister's disappointed shake of the head. I'm so worthless. Hinata was a shy, meek, kind girl. Born into the Hyuga family, a renowned family of shinobi excelling in Juyuken and the possessors of the Kekkei Genkei the Byakugan. From childhood, she had been trained in the ways of the Hyuga clan and their clan arts. Her father was strict. Failure was unacceptable. She needed to act in a way befitting an heiress. She tried to live up to her father's expectations, devoting herself to training. But everything changed once her mother died. Her mother was the closest person to Hinata. Her mother's death had changed her. She became shy, secluded and extremely reserved. It didn't help her that her father had become very strict. It seemed her mother's death after her father more than he let on. As such, she and her sister Hanabi went through grueling training every day. However, while Hanabi continued to excel, she the older sibling continuously declined in skill. Her shy nature and her kind heart made her reluctant to hurt people. Constant failures and admonishment gnawed at her self-confidence, and before she knew it, her self-confidence all but disappeared. She started losing to her sister, a girl 5 years her junior. Not only that, her cousin Neji from the branch family became stronger and stronger. The series of events had prompted the Hyuga clan elders to pressurize her father into branding her with the caged bird seal. Her father had somehow managed to stall her fate, however, she knew that one day she'd branded with it. It was just a matter of time. But, in spite of such hopelessness, Hinata never gave up. How could she? Sure, she had once wanted to. But her meeting with Naruto changed everything. She had seen him struggle. She had seen how everyone treated him with loathing and contempt. She had seen how much malice he had been victimized to. She witnessed how people always put him down. Yet, he came right back up with a smile. Naruto had nobody. Yet, he never let it get to him. Fate has played all its cards against Naruto. But Naruto never gave him. He mustered unimaginable grit to move forward. He trained like a madman. Hinata knew Naruto was no genius. She understood Naruto was not smart or had any talent whatsoever. But, he never let these get to him. He moved forward amidst such misfortune. To her, Naruto was her light. If someone who spent their entire life dealing with everyone's contempt and ridicule without having anybody to call precious, he still moved forward with a smile. Even if I fail this test, I will still become Hokage. Believe it. Yes. She smiled to herself. You really will become Hokage one day, Naruto-kun. I believe in you. Stealing her resolve, she resolved herself. She won't let Naruto's dream come to waste. She'd do everything in her power. She'd overcome her weakness if it meant Naruto could live his dream. This is Hinata Hyuga's Nindo. Is he obscenely nice or is he just a plain idiot? Ino shook her head sideways. She just didn't get Naruto Uzumaki. She never did, in fact. Her academy days were spent chasing Sasuke Uchiha. Resident heartthrob. Hottest guy in the universe. Cool, dark, mysterious. She believed him to be her Prince Charming. Besides, the hottest girl should get the hottest boy right. It was destiny. And, Ino had no confusion regarding who was the hottest girl in Konoha. In her academy days, Ino hardly spared a glance at Naruto. Hardly, because whenever she did it was to admonish him for picking up fights with Sasuke. Seriously, she never understood what was wrong with him. Didn't he get it? He can't beat Sasuke. He is just too good. On the contrary, Naruto sucked. The weakest kid in class. Only redeemable feature somewhat decent physical strength. Oh, and a horrendous jumpsuit. He had terrible fashion sense. Ino had given the other blonde his fair share of belittling. Often, chastising his skills and worth as a shinobi. Besides, She and Amy were the most vocal about him not being of use to them during the test. So, it came to her as a surprise when he offered to have them pass and resolved to stay back. She had to double-check twice if she was dreaming. If it were her, she would have chosen him in a heartbeat. While she didn't mind choosing Amy or Sakura, the blonde would just be a burden. Yet, here he was doing just the opposite. Sitting back a year for them. Ino knew Naruto's skills were terrible. If he sat back this time, it wouldn't guarantee he would pass the academy finals the next time. It didn't help the fact that the teachers, other than Iruka, were always ignoring him. Ino noticed this but never voiced it out. None of the teachers seemed to help Naruto. Maybe it was because of his pranks. No, that would be weird. Nobody liked Naruto, especially adults. While the others mostly didn't bully Naruto like their generation, but they seemed to hold nothing but disdain for the blonde. Was it simply because he was a loud-mouthed prankster? A Hokage protects his precious people in the village. He protects civilians, shinobi genin, chunin, jonin alike. He's willing to sacrifice everything for his beloved ones. I think if I sacrifice any one of them then, even if I become the greatest Hokage, I won't be able to look myself in the eye, I won't be able to look the other four in the eyes. There's no point in becoming a Hokage if I have to sacrifice others to do. Even if Amy, Sakura, Ino, Hinata didn't cooperate with me, and even if they don't like me and don't want to team up with me, I still won't sacrifice them to become a Hokage. Why Nar?